Okay.
I don't know if you can move the volume up just a hair.
Will do. Thank you.
I call to order the regular meeting of the Mayor and Board of Trustees of the Village of Burr Ridge for Monday, July 27th, 2020. I will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance tonight. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. In accordance with the mandate of Public Act 101-0640, and as mayor of the Village of Burr Ridge, I hereby declare that an in-person meeting or a meeting is not practical or prudent on account of the COVID-19 declaration of disaster issued by Governor Pritzker. Deputy Clerk, roll call, please.
Trustee Francis,
Here.
Trustee Chiappa,
Here.
Trustee Maital,
Here.
Trustee Snyder,
Yes.
Trustee Paveza,
Here.
Trustee Model,
Okay,
Mayor Grasso.
here. We have no presentations or public hearings tonight. At this time, anyone logged on or calling in to the meeting may provide public comment on this agenda item. This is going to be the consent agenda. If you would like to comment, you must first unmute and then please announce your name and address. If you are online, there is an unmute button on the Zoom toolbar located at the bottom of your screen. If you are on the telephone, you may unmute by hitting *6 on your phone. If you would like to comment, please unmute yourself and give your name and address at this time. We will pause and take comments in the order received. Is there any public comment on the consent agenda? If so, follow the guidelines I just read, and I'll start to read the consent agenda. All items listed with an asterisk are considered routine by the village board and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a board member or citizen so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda, discussed by the board, opened for public comment, and voted upon during this meeting. 5 minutes. A, approval of regular board meeting of June 22, 2020. B, receive and file economic development meeting of July 1, 2020. C, receive and file plan commission meeting of July 6, 2020. And D, receive and file plan commission meeting of July 20, 2020. 7, resolutions. B, approval of a resolution approving an intergovernmental agreement between the County of DuPage and the Village of Burr Ridge for the reimbursement of eligible COVID-19 expenses. DuPage County CARES funding. C, approval of a resolution approving an intergovernmental agreement between the County of Cook and the Village of Burr Ridge for the reimbursement of eligible COVID-19 expenses. Cook County CARES funding. And D, adoption of a resolution approving a memorandum of understanding between the Village of Burr Ridge and DuPage Public Safety Communications, also known as DUCOM, for radio equipment on the North Water Tower and Police Station. 8, considerations. D, approval of Plan Commission recommendation to approve a preliminary plat of subdivision, Grant Street preliminary plat of subdivision. E, approval of Plan Commission recommendation to approve a special use to permit outdoor dining at an existing restaurant in a B2 district, Z10 2020, 16W 561 South Frontage Road, Falco's Pizza. F, approval of employment training agreement with Patrol Officer Patrick Patla. G, approval of recommendation to award a contract for fire hydrant painting to G.O. Painters, Inc. of Maywood, Illinois in the amount of $27,000. H, approval of a recommendation to ratify emergency water main repair at County Line Road and 79th Street on June 14, 2020 by Beyond Construction Company, Inc. in the amount of $8,228. I, approval of recommendation to award a contract for concrete foundation repairs and exterior drainage system installation at Police Station to Permaseal Basement Systems, Inc. of Burr Ridge, Illinois, in the amount of $6,991.10. J, approval of vendor list dated July 13, 2020, in the amount of $740,865.78 for all funds, plus $200,139.74 for payroll for the period ending June 27, 2020, for a grand total of $941,005.52, which includes special expenditures of $57,501.60 to Party Time HDO operations for restaurant tent rentals, and $59,857 to Denler Inc. for the 2020 road program. And K, approval of vendor list dated July 27, 2020, in the amount of $190,752.92 for all funds, plus $200,897.60 for payroll for the period ending July 11, 2020, for a grand total of $391,650.52, which includes special expenditures of $118,208.84 to Schroeder Asphalt Services for the 2020 road program. Can I get a motion for the following items on the consent agenda? 5A, B, C, D, 7B, C, D, 8, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, and K.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
None.
Is there any public comment? Roll call, please.
Trustee Snyder,
Yes.
Trustee Mytal,
Yes.
Trustee Francis,
Yes.
Trustee Chiappa,
Yes.
Trustee Paveza,
Yes.
5-0.
5-0, the motion passes. Thank you. 6, ordinances. A, consideration of an ordinance amending Chapter 25, Section 25.11 of the Burr Ridge Municipal Code regarding Class O and Class S liquor license fees for the hen house and also for peak running. Doug?
Yes, this is an ordinance that the board directed to be prepared for tonight's meeting. This was discussed at the second meeting in May. The ordinance reduces the liquor license fee for the hen house and for peak running. The hen house's fee is currently $500. Peak running is $1,000. Reduces both those licenses to $100 a year. These are very limited licenses. Hen house is for BYOB only. Peak running is business that sells running shoes and apparel and has very limited alcohol sales. Fees are based on cost to the village of processing and enforcing the liquor licenses. And in both these cases, that fee is very nominal and it's generally limited to the few hours of processing the fees and issuing the fees once a year. Be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, first let's get a motion to approve and a second, and then we'll open it up to board discussion and or public comment. And I have a motion.
So moved.
Francis speaking. I move that we approve the ordinance related to the liquor licenses for hen house and peak running.
Second. Trustee
Right.
Chiappa.
We have a motion and a second, so let's start with the board. Any questions from the Board of Trustees of Doug or anybody else? Okay, at this time, I'll have to read this again. This is about public comment. At this time, anyone logged on or calling into the meeting may provide public comment on this agenda item. If you would like to comment, you must first unmute and then please announce your name and address. If you are online, there is an unmute button on the Zoom toolbar located at the bottom of your screen. If you are on the telephone, you may unmute by hitting *6 on your phone. If you would like to comment, please unmute yourself at this moment and give your name and address. We will pause and take your comments in the order received. Is there any public comment? Roll call, please.
Trustee Francis,
Yes.
Trustee Chiappa,
Yes.
Trustee Mytal,
Yes.
Trustee Snyder,
Yes.
Trustee Paveza,
Yes.
5-0.
5-0, the motion passes. Thank you. That takes us to 7, resolutions. Consideration of a resolution establishing a policy that people wear facial coverings and masks, sanitize their hands, and practice social physical distancing. I asked this to be put on the agenda. It was on the agenda for the last time when we canceled the meeting. I just think that this is, in my opinion, and I hope you agree with me, a very important policy statement for the Village of Burr Ridge. It is consistent with what the CDC, the Illinois Department of Public Health, the boards of health for Cook and DuPage, almost anybody responsible in the medical field in the attempt to fight and defeat the COVID-19 virus. While it may not be an enforceable resolution or policy, I think it's important that Burr Ridge make a statement, and that is why it's on the agenda for this evening for your respectful consideration. Anyone else? If so, can I get a motion to pass the resolution establishing a policy that people wear facial coverings and masks, sanitize their hands, and practice social distancing and physical distancing?
So move.
Second.
Any public comment? Anyone logged on or calling into the meeting may provide public comment on this agenda item also.
Hello.
If you would like to comment, you must first unmute and then please announce your name and address.
Hi, my name is Edita Smolka, and I want to comment on your motion.
Did you get the name? And are you a Burr Ridge resident?
Yes.
Okay, we just need to know where you're from. We don't need your address. Sure, go right ahead. Thank you.
So I'm against your motion to enforce on people mandatory masks. I believe that this is unconstitutional, and there's no federal law to mandate that. So I'm up for, I believe we all should wash our hands and be careful and keep our distance, but forcing masks on other people is not healthy, and it's unconstitutional. So just, I wanted to be heard, and I hope you take that into consideration while voting on it.
Thank you. Is there
Mr.
any
Mayor.
other?
Richard Morton, Lake Ridge Club.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Morgan.
I wanted to weigh in on the mask ordinance only from the perspective of affirmation. I believe Burr Ridge enacting this ordinance, whether it has teeth or not, is a positive development and demonstrates leadership in COVID-19 and trying to keep people safe. And so I urge all the trustees to vote for this and compliment the village for presenting this.
Thank you, Mr. Morton. Any other public comment? Do any trustees wish to make a comment?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Morton, for stepping.
Trustee Snyder, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Morton, for stepping forward and making that statement. It's not easy, as we all know, being a trustee when individuals like Ms. Mataska can say one thing and you can go the other way. We're trying to do what's best for others. So Mr. Mayor, the Mayor Grasso has done a fabulous job at trying to take care of this. So this particular consideration, I think, is in a good spot. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Mittal first.
I want to commend the mayor on taking leadership in asking people to wear masks. Ultimately, the cure is us, and the only way we can stop this virus from spreading is by wearing masks, observing social distancing, and washing our hands. But wearing masks in public is very important. So I think it's a great idea.
Thank you. Trustee Paveza?
When I first heard about the proposal, I had mixed feelings about it. But the more I thought about it and the more I got around, you can't go to a doctor's office without having a mask on. There's a lot of other places outside of Burr Ridge you can't go in or out without having a mask on. So the more I thought about it, I thought this is the way to go.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, Trustee
Trustee
Schiappa.
Schiappa?
Thank you. I believe we are in a free country. You can choose to wear a mask or not. We're just making a resolution here to observe and respect others, to wear a mask and wash your hands. And this is just a sign that we as a village are paying attention, and we're here to provide security and safety to our residents and businesses. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any other statements? If not, roll call, please.
Trustee Mytal,
Yes.
Trustee Snyder,
Yes.
Trustee Paveza,
Yes,
Trustee Schiappa,
Yes.
Trustee Francis,
Yes.
5-0.
5-0, the motion passes. If the mayor could vote in such situations, the mayor would vote yes also. 8, considerations. A, consideration of rebating liquor license fees for applications due July 31st, 2020. I asked Doug to put this on the agenda to give the board at least some opportunity to consider whether we should be rebating liquor licenses at this time. They are not insignificant fees. And from the way we read the CARES Act funding, we believe we'd be able to allocate our CARES Act money towards it. But I wanted the board to consider it. And therefore, Doug, anything more to add, or Evan, anything more to add?
I would only add that if the board is in agreement or concurs to waive or rebate the liquor license fees, we would come back at the next meeting with an ordinance. That would be after the July 31st deadline, but based on your direction, we would inform liquor license holders that the fee will be rebated.
Can I get a motion to approve rebating the liquor license fees for applications due July 31st, 2020? And directing staff to prepare the ordinance for consideration at the August 10th meeting.
This is Trustee Francis. So moved.
Second.
We have a second? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear.
Second, Joe Snyder.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Snyder. Is there any comment by any of the, any questions or comment by any of the trustees?
This is Trustee Schiappa. I had
Yes,
a question. Did this come from the restaurants, or did we originate this, or how is this?
we originated it in the sense that I asked Doug to put it on the agenda. It did follow some of my weekly discussions with the other mayors around the county of DuPage as to what they're doing in their various villages. Some are doing this in order to give relief to the bars and restaurants, further relief to them. And also because we think we can recapture it in the CARES Act. And since then, there's been more clarity that's come out from the government. And, I am very confident that we can get CARES funding to cover these fees. So we will not be out the money, and it will give further relief to the bars and restaurants in, significant numbers. Some of these licenses some of them are $1,000 or $2,000 per restaurant. It's just further support, and we're not going to be out the money.
This is Trustee Francis. I have a question.
Sure.
So this is a one-time only, 1 year only proposition, correct?
Yes, one time only, hopefully never to see COVID-19 problems ever again, but yes, one time only.
Thank you.
This is Trustee Snyder with the question, Mr. Mayor.
Yes,
The question would be is like, can Doug or Evan, when we get the CARES Act money, can they just send us a little note that it's all following through, validating everything you've just discussed?
yes. And in fact, I'll ask even more than that we'll have research and give you the actual basis of all the language before a final vote. Obviously, this is just a motion to direct staff to prepare the ordinance. You could decide not to vote for it. The board could decide not to pass it at the next meeting. And by then, I will make sure you all have all the backup information and language from the CARES Act, and also the amounts of money that are involved, so that you can make an informed decision at that time.
Thank you.
Okay.
Now, as to public comment, at this time, anyone logged on or calling in to the meeting may provide public comment on this agenda item. If you would like to comment, you must first unmute and then please announce your name and address. Is there any public comment on this item? Roll call, please.
Trustee Francis,
Yes.
Trustee Snyder,
Yes.
Trustee Paveza,
Yes,
Trustee Mytal,
Yes,
Trustee Chiappa,
Yes.
5-0.
5-0, the motion passes. 8B, consideration of an amendment to the municipal code regarding temporary use of roll-off containers. Doug?
Yes, I'll turn this over to Assistant Administrator Evan Walter.
Evan?
Thank you. So generally speaking, over the past 6 months, the staff here has received a number of complaints about dumpsters. In this case, we're referring to them as roll-off containers, but they are colloquially just dumpsters with a building permit, but also a number of dumpsters being placed without a permit. Typically in the village, dumpsters are permitted with a building permit. If you have a home remodel or a new home or a demolition of some sort, a dumpster is automatically permitted with your building permit. There are some rules related to where it can go, how it can be used, et cetera. But in general, a dumpster is permitted with a building permit. What we don't have right now in the village is how and when dumpsters may be permitted without a building permit. So what we're seeing more of in the village is people cleaning out basements, people throwing out a number of things outside of their house, maybe construction materials that were left from years ago. But otherwise, they're doing work on their property without a building permit. And so there is no language that the village staff can rely on as to when, where, and how dumpsters may be permitted on any property related to their use. And this consideration has come forth from village staff to establish some brief, but hopefully succinct language in Chapter 38 of the Municipal Code. These are some of the general regulations that would be adopted as such. There is more exact language in your board report. I do want to note one Scrivener's error. It does say 30 cubic yards, and then later it says 20 cubic yards in size as to the maximum size. We do want to note that it would be 30 cubic yards throughout the amendments that you would be looking at tonight. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you now. Thank you.
Are there any questions from any of the trustees? I have a question.
I think Trustee Francis,
Oh, I'm sorry, Trustee Francis? Sorry, I didn't see.
he's muted.
I think you have to unmute, Guy.
I'm sorry. Just a comment from Trustee Francis. So I've used roll-off boxes, dumpsters before in situations where a building permit was not required, such as a basement clean out or an attic clean out or a renovation where no building permit was required. For example, someone could do a roof tear off, and there's no building permit required for a roof tear off, yet a dumpster is on site. And this protects the residents from dumpsters being sitting on someone's property for extended periods of time. And they're not pretty to look at, but they serve a wonderful, useful purpose. And it will just help make sure that they're placed and removed in a timely manner. Thank you.
Any other questions from any other trustees? So I had a question. How is there going to be a length of time associated with this so that sometimes you do see, sometimes I have noted in areas of the village, seeing this a dumpster sitting in the same spot for weeks on end. I realize that maybe the homeowner can't get to the job right away, but aren't we going to have some kind of time limit?
Yes, we've established 10-day intervals, and we would say that if there needs to be additional time, there can be a 14-day interval between the placements. So you have a 10-day interval, then a 14-day break, if you will, and then the shot clock for 10 days restarts. So it'd be 10 days.
Okay. So we'll work with a particular resident if they have a particular schedule where contractors can't be synchronized quickly enough, and we're not going to penalize them
Sure.
because of their contract.
Sure. And if it's going to be, if there's at one time where it's 11 days or 2 weeks, we understand that. What we're trying to avoid here is the 3-month dumpster where it just goes on forever.
Any other questions from any of the trustees before I ask for public comment? Yes, Mike.
This 10-day limitation only applies in this ordinance, this article of the village code, to those roll-off containers that are not being utilized in conjunction with a building permit having been issued. So if you have a building permit, I wouldn't take it for granted that it's only going to be there for 10 days. So this only regulates those permits that, I'm sorry, those roll-off containers that don't accompany a building permit. And in fact, this ordinance says no permit is required for containers under this article. Thank you.
Understood. Thank you. Any other questions from the trustees? As to public comment, anyone logged on or calling into the meeting may provide public comment on this agenda item also. If you would like to comment, you must first unmute and then please announce your name and address. Is there any public comment? Roll call, please.
I need motions.
Oh, sorry. I thought we had a motion in a second.
Did we?
My bad.
I don't think we did.
Okay, I'm sorry. Can I get a motion to approve the amendment to the municipal code regarding temporary use of roll-off containers, also known as dumpsters?
So moved.
Second,
We have Beza and seconded by trustee Mattal. Again, just for, is there any other comment by any of the trustees? As to public comment, anyone logged on or calling into the meeting may provide public comment on this agenda item. If you would like to comment, you must first unmute and then please announce your name and address. Roll call, please.
Trustee Paveza,
Yes.
trustee Maital,
yes.
trustee Snyder,
Yes.
trustee Schiappa,
Yes.
trustee Francis,
Yes.
5-0.
5-0, the motion passes. 8C, consideration of mayor's recommendation to form an ad hoc pension funding committee and to appoint trustees Snyder and Schiappa and Mayor Grasso to said ad hoc committee. I asked this to be on the agenda. Doug Pollock and I discussed an idea that Doug had as a possible, one avenue as a possible way to have a continuing funding of the police pension obligation. I thought it merited enough discussion so that we should have an ad hoc committee. It includes aspects of, what do we call it? What's the funding that Joe is always so proud of?
Open amortization.
Open amortization. One of these days I'll get that right. I'm sure Joe will teach me more about it. But I think on the basis of open amortization and some use of some of our facilities in the village, I think it's worth discussing this and having an ad hoc committee that would come back with one or more recommendations to the board to address what I believe to be the only Achilles heel in our fiscal situation, and that is the long-term commitment to the police pension obligation. So that's the basis of it. Why don't I first get a motion, and if we have any basis, anybody have any discussion, we'll have that. Can I get a motion to approve the mayor's recommendation to form an ad hoc pension funding committee and to appoint trustees Snyder and Schiappa and Mayor Grasso to the ad hoc committee?
This is trustee Francis, so moved.
Second.
Okay, any questions or any comments by any of the trustees?
Trustee Snyder?
Yes, sir.
Trustee Matala has the same capabilities of anyone, especially in the open amortization. I've had many discussions with her, so thank you for considering me, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate going with Trustee Schiappa, but Trustee Matala also has a great, vast knowledge, and I may utilize some of her talents, asking some questions if it's acceptable with you.
I didn't hear all of what you said.
Simply recognize Trustee Mattal's skills and talents in the financial sector.
Oh, yes. I don't think there's any question. I think both you and she brought up the open amortization. So absolutely. And we certainly will be probably reaching out to Anita also and keeping her in the loop on this.
And this is trustee Schiappa.
Yes, sir.
So will we be working with our actuaries in the sense of, are we going to get their reports? Because I know there are two actuaries for our pension. The actuary that's hired by us, by the village, and another actuary hired by the pension board. So I think that's more information for us to have to help us in creating potential solutions for
Yes.
pension fund.
It's my intent to have Doug and either Jerry or Amy, and they have been in contact with the actuaries, and we have a lot of that information, and that will be provided to the ad hoc committee also. Obviously, that's crucial. And if there's any need to directly involve the actuaries themselves, I intend to have a meeting, not tonight, obviously, but in the next couple, 3 weeks, when we'll all sit down or get around to Zoom if necessary and get the ground rules down and get the information out initially and then see what else all of you want. That is to say, you and Joe. And then if there's some questions, we'll probably run some of it also by Anita. Okay?
That sounds great. Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, yes, Al.
this is one subject that I've always had mixed emotions on. I mean, we've been paying what we're obligated to pay, and we're in the upper third of the villages as far as our payments and our obligations. The reason I have these mixed emotions is no one, and I've asked a lot of people a lot of questions about it. No one has told me how the government, the state, local, or county, how are they going to help these other villages that are way underwater contribute to the pension fund. And that's the reason under these conditions that, you know, as long as we're paying what the state requires us to pay, I've got mixed emotions about paying more when money's tight and so many of the other villages are buried underwater and haven't been making the payments.
Yeah, and I certainly respect that philosophy, and it certainly will be something that can be discussed at the board level. And you're right, we have always been responsible, and we've always paid the amount that the actuaries at the state level have told us to pay. We also know that we have been falling behind like many other villages have, and no fault of our own. And so I think information is power, Al, and to the extent that we in the ad hoc committee discuss the alternatives that we might have and how we do that, I think that's only more information for the board to decide if they want to do it or not want to do it. And if they want to do something more, whether or not they want to do this plan or some other plan. But ultimately, no matter what happens to other villages, we have our police and our police pension obligation. And I think it's my job as the mayor to at least put all the options out there for a board to make a decision. And as I said, information's power, and I just intend to give you the full amount of information that we have, and we can decide if we want to stand pat and do what we've always been doing, which is working, or is there a better way to address this problem? That's all. It's just the ad hoc committee is only going to make some recommendations and observations to the board, and the board can do something or stay and do the program that we're doing, and that is matching the funds that we're told to by the state actuaries. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
This
We
trustee
have a motion.
Francis has a question.
Yes.
So how will this ad hoc committee coordinate with or report to or align with the current police pension board that the village has?
You know, that's to be decided, but we'll keep them in the loop and see what their recommendations are. As you know that we know what their recommendations are from time to time. They tell us the amounts. We'll run the plan by them. We'll certainly get input from them and add that to what the ad hoc committee is doing.
So it'll be a coordinated effort, is what you're saying?
Oh, yes, a fully coordinated effort so that everybody's on board, at least with the recommendations of the ad hoc committee, and then the board can decide if they want to go forward with that or not.
And this will all be spelled out in their charter.
Sorry, I didn't really say it'd be-
Charter, spelled out in their charter.
All be spelled out in the ad hoc committee's charter.
Yes.
Very good, thank you.
Okay, again, public comment at this time. Anyone logged on or calling into the meeting may provide public comment on this agenda item. If you would like to comment, you must first unmute and then please announce your name and address. Is there any public comment on this item? We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Francis,
Yes.
trustee Mytal,
Yes.
trustee Snyder,
Yes.
trustee Paveza,
Yes.
trustee Chiappa,
Yes.
5-0.
5-0, the motion passes. All right, that takes us to item 9, which is public comment and public comment on anything that was on the agenda or anything that is not on the agenda. So one more time, anyone logged on or calling into the meeting may provide public comment on this agenda item. And if you would like to do so, please first unmute and announce your name and address. Is there any public comment? Sorry, is there someone? I see if, I can't see from here.
The only public on the call are Richard and Shady, and neither have unmuted themselves.
Okay, thank you for that. And for the record, Doug informed me that he had received no emails prior to the meeting for public comment. Okay, so that moves us on. Item 10, reports and communications from village officials. Do any trustees have any reports or communications that they would like to make at this time?
This is Anita Mital. Can I give my census report at this time?
Oh, absolutely. Thank you.
Well, I wanted to thank staff for doing such a wonderful job and placing all the signs that you see all over the village. Those were done very well, and they've been very helpful in printing other materials for some of the religious organizations. I also wanted to recognize Patricia Scapa. She's been very helpful creating materials for the printouts and finding videos on the census website. We are at 76.4% participation rate as of today. And I believe the door-to-door census takers will start going out on April 11th. That should hopefully make a difference in the census count. Now, I think we're moving very, very slowly. So I'm hoping that the door-to-door census will really help. But please talk to your friends, families, neighbors, and make sure that they've participated in the census. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other trustee
This is Trustee Francis. I have two comments, please.
Yes,
So first of all, I saw that the updated budget numbers came out this afternoon. Doug, could staff comment on how the water fund is doing with respect to revenues versus actual revenues versus what was budgeted revenues?
who wants to take that?
Sure. Yes, I can comment on that. So our budgeted billing for May through June of this year was 61,000 gallons, which equates to $622,730 in revenue. The actual billing for May through June was 101,943,000 gallons, approximate revenue of $1.05 million. So we budgeted $622,000 estimated, and we saw 1.05 million, just over $1 million in revenue. So we're some 40% over budget. We did real well in that regard. It was extremely dry June, as all of you know, and certainly the stay at home, more people staying at home may have impacted that as well.
So when you say we're over budget, that's a good thing. Revenues are better than expected by 40%, correct?
Correct.
Very good, thank you. And then the second comment I wanted to make was I had the opportunity to lead a homeowners association meeting last week in the village, in the police station training room, subject to the new village policy on utilizing meeting rooms. The meeting went well. We were able to stay within the village guidelines of meeting participants, the number of meeting participants, practice social distancing, had our masks cleaned up before and afterwards, and it all went well. So I encourage other homeowners associations to begin to utilize these facilities, and please get out with your HOAs and keep the lines of communication open with your residents. I know you've been doing it via email, but here's an opportunity again to meet in person, as long as we're in phase 4 of the governor's mandate. So thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. Any other trustees?
This is Trustee Schiappa.
Yes,
So I want to thank staff for preparing this report, and I wanted to hear your comment on the general fund. I mean, we're backwards on both ends, on revenues and expenses. So it's good that we're seeing this and that we can pay attention to it. But what are we doing for the next 2 months, July and August, to try and right the ship?
Well, yeah, we sent out a budget report late in the day today. It wasn't intended necessarily for tonight's board meeting, but
okay,
it's just timing of it. I think what you're seeing is an incomplete revenue estimate. We don't have sales tax numbers for June. We don't have places of eating tax. Actually, we do have places of eating tax, but not sales tax numbers. So it's an incomplete revenue side.
Okay.
So we're not sure yet if where we're at.
All right. Okay, that's fair enough. So it's just okay. I get it.
yeah, we're trying to give you some rolling information as we have it. It's incomplete, but we promised that we would try to keep information coming to the board. This isn't normally how we would do things, because normally we take these issues up as they came, but because of the COVID situation, we're trying to keep it under control, at least under our eye, as much as possible. Good news is the village fiscally is sound with lots of reserves. Bad news is, like it is for all villages, COVID is beginning to have an impact on us, and we probably will not see stellar sales tax numbers for the months that have been heavily involved with COVID, such as April, May, June, and going forward. So we're trying to give you the information, and we'll do a more in-depth update in one of the 2 meetings in August.
Okay.
And certainly, as any of you get these numbers and any of you have any questions prior to any meetings, it's always good to get your questions in before the meeting so we can address them.
Right.
Just let us know, and we'll address any question from any trustee.
Right. Well, the report came in late, and
It did.
So, anyway, yeah. So, and the other thing I just want to say is that this is great information. This is exactly what we need to see, and thank you to staff for producing this report. So I'm looking forward to the complete report. But this is exactly what we need to keep an eye on.
Okay. Any other trustees have any other reports or communications to the village? If not, I just have a couple before we end this meeting. I want to welcome a new police officer. He was mentioned on the agenda today, but last Monday, July 20th, Officer Patrick Patla was sworn in as Burr Ridge's newest police officer. Patrick comes to Burr Ridge with 27 years of experience and will not need to attend the police training academy. It sounds like he might be able to give some of it. We welcome Officer Patla to the village of Burr Ridge. There's going to be a farmer's market, the return of the farmer's market. This is a program that's been sponsored by the Village Center, and starting Sunday, August 2nd, and every Sunday thereafter through Sunday, October 11th, except for September 6th, the Labor Day weekend. The Burr Ridge Village Center will host a farmer's market on the Village Green from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. The market will be free to attend for all members of the public and will be hosted in partnership with local grocer Brookhaven. Social distancing, wearing masks, and using hand sanitizer between purchases will be expected while present at the market. Also, we're going to have, and I'll give this one to Trustee Francis, who suggested we have a cruise night, and so we're going to have some cruise nights. They're going to start every other Tuesday. The next one will be Tuesday, August 4th. From 6 to 8 p.m. They'll be along the outlot at the Village Center Drive and Bridewell near Starbucks. There'll be no charge, and you might need to reserve a spot for your car by contacting Janet Kowal at the Village Hall. And just a further reminder that the new cases of positive testing in Burr Ridge have been going up steadily, as they have been around the nation and around the state. We are now at 150 total cases, with 32 new cases in the last 14 days. So we need to be vigilant and watch what's going on. The little bug is not going away. The age group of 20 to 29 is now the age group that has the most cases, at least according to DuPage Board of Health, from any of the groups, even more than 50 to 59 or 60 to 69, which were the 2 highest before that. The good news, if there's any good news, is that the hospitalization rates are staying level. And so maybe while more and more people are getting infected, maybe they're handling it better and we're not seeing the severity. However, everybody 60 years and over is still at severe risk. Be vigilant, stay home, try not to interact unless you have to, because the bug still has devastating effect on anyone that's over 60 and anyone with comorbidities. With that said, I'd like a motion to adjourn to August 10.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
I need a roll call.
Need a roll call because we're, okay, normally we don't need a roll call, but because we're virtual, thank you for that. We need a roll call to even adjourn. Thank you. Go ahead.
Trustee Schiappa,
Yes.
Trustee Snyder,
Yes.
Trustee Paveza,
Yes.
Trustee Mytal,
Yes.
Trustee Francis.
Yes.
5-0. Thank you.
5-0, we're adjourned to August 10th.